Welcome back, dear viewers. To shed more light on this issue, we are delighted to be joined over the phone by Mr. Ramzy Khoury, the Jordanian journalist. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Ramzy. We are still trying to reach Mr. Ramzy Khoury, the Jordanian journalist, to shed light on the ongoing developments and the Israeli escalations in the West Bank on one hand, and evacuation of Khan Yunis from on the other hand, and distribution of aid and many other issues. Under growing global pressure, Israel ended an 11-week-long blockade on Gaza 12 days ago, allowing only limited UN-led operations to resume. We'll know more from Mr. Ramzy Khoury. He is now over the phone. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Lamia.
So, Mr. Khoury, how do you assess the latest Israeli provocations? On the one hand, the expansion of settlements in the West Bank, and on the other hand, the evacuation of Khan Yunis.
The Israelis are adamant about their plan, theocratical plan, by the way, where they will basically empty the land from the inhabitants in order for them to erect their Israel all over the land. This is basically their plan, and unfortunately they're being assisted to do it. They are being allowed to do it. If we take a look at the last project, U.S. project of bringing aid into Gaza through the private American company that is registered in Switzerland and which is run by ex-American military. The whole idea is to move the population down to areas that can only be called concentration camps. Otherwise they cannot get food and they cannot eat, and they would starve. And therefore, once they have full control over the population, then they are then able to carry out transfer programs to get them out of Palestine. But the same is happening in the West Bank. The Israelis have now declared that they are erecting 24 settlements that would make it totally impossible for a Palestinian state to exist. They are surrounding all Palestinian villages and cities with settlements that would suffocate the Palestinian population, encourage it to leave and immigrate out of the country, and empower the settlers to do what they're doing right now. The settlers are attacking towns, they're attacking villages, they are pillaging, they are destroying plantations and homes. The Israeli army is going into towns, destroying refugee camps, because if there are no refugee camps in the head of Israel and in the mind of this government, Israeli government, and by stopping UNRWA from doing its business in the West Bank and Gaza, then there would be no Palestinian issue, because the Palestinian issue is directly related to the issue of refuge. So the Israelis are doing all measures to, first of all, make sure that the Palestinian state cannot even exist, and to transfer the Palestinians out of their land, which is a second Nakba. As a matter of fact, many people are now arguing, Lamia, that this is a much worse Nakba than the Nakba of 1948, in terms of carnage, in terms of deaths, in terms of targeting children, the destruction that has occurred.
Yes, Mr. Khoury, concerning the U.S.-backed plan to reach a ceasefire deal, the right-wing ministers, Israeli right-wing ministers, Itamar Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, threatened to leave Netanyahu's cabinet over reaching a deal, while Hamas is still reviewing the plan. So how would they reach a ceasefire deal in this case?
No, the deal that has been put on offer is a trap for Hamas, rather than it's a deal that can be signed and agreed upon. All of the leaks regarding the details of the plan is simply what Israel has been offering for the past 2 months. And the Palestinians have refused it, because basically it is two stages. The first step, the Israelis will get 10 of the hostages. They will stop military action for a period of 60 days. At the end of the 60 days, they will get the remaining hostages. But there is no promise or guarantee that the war ends after 60 days. The Israelis have been trying to push this. This is actually an Israeli plan. This is not an American plan that Israel accepted. This is basically the Israelis demanding to be able to continue the war in order for them to continue their project. So, and what is going on today, Lamia, which is extremely dangerous, is the normalization of starvation as a weapon of war. And this is exactly what they're doing. I'll give you an example. For the past 2 weeks, all of the aid, the food that has entered Gaza is not sufficient for more than 10% of the population. So basically 90% of the population is being starved. And the Americans now are normalizing this, because the Americans are the ones who have agreed to stop aid flowing through the Rafah border with Egypt onto the hands of all of the international organizations that have the experience in distributing the food. Yes.
I was about to ask you, why does Israel insist on the working, that the UN should work with the GHF through the private American company to distribute aids at the so-called secure distribution sites?
This is the Mossad CIA operation in order to carry out the Israeli project. Because what they did is they have 3 centers that are in the south. And they want to force the whole population from the north and mid-Gaza to enter into the south and sit in concentration camps where these 3 centers are.
That's why there are no sites in the north? That's why there are no sites set up in the north?
Absolutely none. Absolutely none. The Americans refuse to do that. So this is an Israeli plan. The Americans are assisting Israel in carrying out its plan. So there is no solution. And what the Americans wanted to do by this operation is to hit 2 birds with 1 stone, because there is now a huge amount of international pressure. The whole world is crying out the starvation. So the Americans and the Israelis are claiming that there is food now coming into Gaza. So stop attacking Israel. But in reality, as I said, UNRWA just declared that the whole amount of food that has entered Gaza in the past 2 weeks is not enough for 10% of the population. So 90% of the population is still starving, and they can and they wouldn't be starving. There are thousands of trucks that are sitting on the Rafah border, on the Egyptian side. If they were allowed in, and they were handed to all of the international organizations that are on the ground, who have tens of years of experience in distributing aid, who have a whole system on the ground, and which has been very effective and extremely productive during the whole war since the 7th of October 2 years ago.
Yes, Mr. Khoury, to what extent these distribution sites are abiding by humanitarian principles, while Israel is accused of weaponizing these sites?
They don't abide by any international principles, as a matter of fact. The whole distribution process is against the law, and it is illegal, and the United Nations has already declared this. The World Food Program has declared this. All international organizations have come out and said that this is illegal, and what you're doing is unhumanitarian. it is against humanitarian law. It is totally not abiding by any norms of distributing aid in catastrophe areas. Yes, the Americans insisted and the Israelis insisted. And, you know, the first day of operation when hell broke loose and the American military personnel fled, it became extremely clear that this is an Israeli operation, that is run by the Israeli army. Because immediately the Israeli army was there and shooting bullets at people, injuring some, and terrifying the population that's trying to come and get food. This is no solution. It is an attempt to allow Israel to carry on and try to achieve its criminal project, because it is a war crime what they are doing. And at the end of the day, all hopes that the United States is going to be fair is going down the drain, especially with the last offer that the Americans have placed on the table, squeezing Hamas into the corner. I don't know if Hamas is going to be able to reach. Hamas is still trying to negotiate it in order to try to get to find a way out. Trump came out yesterday saying, "Oh, they are squeezed and they are trying to find a way out." So he's even admitting that this is a trap that was set for them, it's a huge shame because the Americans are endorsing starvation as a weapon of mass destruction. They are endorsing the transfer of the population, the indigenous population of their lands. And all of this is totally against international law. Yet the Americans are doing it bluntly, and by doing that, they are normalizing it.
Hope a ceasefire will be reached soon to put an end to the suffering of the Palestinian people. Thank you so much, Mr. Ramzy Khoury, the Jordanian journalist. And by this, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of this episode of Arab Affairs. Thank you for watching. This is Lamia Abdesattar, and stay tuned for more on RTV International.